Not anymore.
Oh, yeah.
So, Xbox
Sagittarius.
Xbox Gemini. That would sound better because you're going from 1 to 2.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they should call me up for these ideas.
That's true. Man.
But they don't.
Your sword's level 1. Their sword's level none.
Actually, they should call it the 1.5 and just have all of those words spelled out. Like O-N-E space P-O-I.
But you gotta camel hump it. Come on now.
Use
What kind of programmer are you?
Comic Sans font.
Comic Sans. And Papyrus.
So the Scorpio is basically going to be the Microsoft's answer to the PlayStation 4 Pro. The Pro is a little bit more powerful than the standard PlayStation 4 in that you can upscale certain games to 4K resolution. Some games that are very basic can run natively at 4K. I don't know that they have any that run at 4K 60 frames per second, but it's basically like a souped up PS4. Same processor, same graphics card, just overclocked, that kind of thing.
So it's an iPhone S.
iPhone S, yeah, it's like a PlayStation 4 S.
Yeah.
There you go. The Scorpio, however, seems to be on a much deeper level as far as what they have added. They've completely done it's going to be coming with a new custom CPU. It's going to have 12 gigs of the same type of memory that the PS4 uses, which is GDDR5 RAM.
What is
that correct? Yeah, that's correct.
Sony use
8 gigs of GDDR5.
Okay, so that's a big upgrade.
It will, and it'll be and 8 gigs of that will be available to the developer. I want to say on the PlayStation 4, 6 gigs are available, and on the Xbox One standard, 5 gigs are available. The other gigs are allocated to the OS.
And Sony used to have the hardware. Like, they had a death grip on just the quality of hardware.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is kind of what you get when you're just like, okay, we just want to make the best thing out there.
Yeah.
And they're putting the time into it too, because it seems like we heard about the Neo less than a year, and then we had the Pro come out. So it seems like they're taking their time with it. So just to go over some of these specs and compare it to the original Xbox One, it will have 8 cores running. The CPU will have 8 cores running at 2.3 gigahertz. The current Xbox One has 8 cores running at 1.75 gigahertz. The GPU will have customized compute units at 1,172 megahertz, whereas the GPU on the Xbox One had 12 running at 853 megahertz. The One S has slightly better stats than that. We already covered memory. The memory bandwidth will be read from much faster. The hard drive will be a 1 terabyte hard drive instead of a 500 gig hard drive. And it will be a 4K Blu-ray drive. We don't have a price and we don't have an official name for it yet. But some of the effects and by the way, I think they had a Forza tech demo running at 4K at 60 frames per second, and it looked very nice.
Okay.
And I've also been Digital Foundry. They're a channel on YouTube and a website as well. They do very, very deep technical analysis of like crazy like, you know, frame pacing and frame rates and resolutions. If you want to learn about these things, like, they're definitely the channel to look towards. They do a lot of comparison videos between different versions of games. They were very excited because older Xbox One games and even Xbox 360 games that are currently compatible on Xbox One will run better on this new machine. They said that things like there will be a lot less screen tearing. There should be games should be running closer to their target frame rate. Like, let's say if a game like Call of Duty, most Call of Duties run at 60 frames per second, or they target that.
Yeah.
But if there's like an explosion, it might go down to 45 or closer to 30.
When you're playing like online with a lot of people too, like that's enough to just
slow things down.
Yeah, like if you were to shoot at the same time as a person across the screen from you, and there's an explosion, and it takes a while to lag on yours, but then their command's gonna hit before yours. Like
yeah,
little itty bitty things that first person shooter people just throw the controllers down.
And imagine that, just not happening because you've got better hardware running and processing things a lot faster. You don't drop the frames, and you get a much more optimized experience, even for games that aren't going to need any extra coding. That would be the cool part, because I know right now PlayStation 4 Pro, if developers want, they can go back and they can patch games to make it run better on the PlayStation 4 Pro, or they could just not touch it at all.
Which, as far as like fixing certain things goes, like I can see where that'd be beneficial, but if they're going to be releasing games and it's the same game for both versions of the Xbox One, then I mean, do you see it as being very beneficial as far as upgrading your console?
The way that they're talking about it, it seems like they're really trying to hype it up to that point.
Yeah.
Where, like, yeah, if you've got an original Xbox One, you're going to want to upgrade. So how
your games work.
The games work, and we're not talking about like, so here's a good example. There were a few games that were released on the PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, probably a good like 6 months into the PS4's lifespan. One of them was Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor, Lord of the Rings game.
Yeah.
It runs terrible on the PlayStation 3. Runs fine on the PS4 because they made it for the PS4 and then they just ported it to the PS3.
You can't do it. You got to make it for the weaker version, and
right.
Once it gets work, then you port it over and beef up.
And you can beef it up. Yeah, add additional effects, which is what they did with Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Come on, yeah. Well, Black Flag. I don't know why people like that game. Like,
I love Black Flag.
I don't know. Like,
have you tried it?
I have.
I love it. They give you a ship like really quick in the game. Like within 2 hours, you're sailing on the open seas. It's great.
The sailing part was fun. It's just as far as like the actual Assassin's Creed part like goes.
Oh, it's just call it Pirate Simulator.
Yeah.
By Ubisoft. Don't even consider it an Assassin's Creed game.
It didn't feel like Assassin's Creed to me. It felt like
I can see that.
Going and hunting down, going from island to island, trying to find, you found like just one random icon to complete a puzzle of random icons you're looking for.
But I loved that they gave you a ship. A lot of like with Breath of the Wild, you could go to areas. You can even go to areas you're not supposed to go and just get your butt handed to you.
Yeah.
I love that.
And that's great. Yeah.
You're like, okay, I'm not supposed to be here yet. All right.
And like if it wasn't tied to Assassin's Creed, if it was just a standalone, like find some other way of doing it. Because I mean, the fighting style, as far as it goes, like the sword fighting, you could have like just taken out the Assassin's Creed hood and put a pirate outfit, and like it would have been its own.
Well,
game.
you can wear a pirate outfit. You don't have to wear the Assassin's Creed outfit.
That's true.
But with with those types of things, like this is not going to be a generational leap.
What kind of price are you looking at in comparison?
Well, they're saying it's going to be pricey.
So then they're just trying to get money from you. It doesn't seem like it.
So I really wanted to play. Here, my personal experience with this type of thing. I really wanted to play Hyrule Warriors Legends, which is the 3DS version of Hyrule Warriors.
Yeah.
I watched some reviews on it, and they said that it runs terrible on the old 3DS, runs really great on the new 3DS. So I think I had some extra money, found a good deal on a new 3DS, and I went out and I got it, and I was actually going to sell off my old 3DS to kind of help offset the cost.
Yeah.
So while I had it, the one night where I had both consoles, and I had Hyrule Warriors Legends, so I'm just curious. I'm going to do my own little test here. Ran just fine on the old 3DS. It ran better on the new one, but it ran just fine on the old one. I'm just like, I bought a new console. I fell for it. I bought a new console, and now I have to say the new 3DS, it does have some neat features on it. It has the built-in amiibo. You don't have to have the little extra infrared dock. The 3D actually follows you around. You don't have to have that sweet spot all the time. Like if you move, the 3D effect will actually follow where your eyes are. That's neat. Is it worth buying a whole new one? No.
Yeah. And that's how I feel about when they pump out these Xbox 1.25,
Xbox One S, Xbox One Scorpio,
Kingdom Hearts 2.38556_-4,
and it's just like, and I've even heard it, like with the PS4 Pro, the last big game that came out for PS4, Horizon Zero Dawn, it runs just fine on either console. Yeah. One runs it at 4K, one runs it at 1080p. But I don't have a 4K screen. I don't want a 4K screen.
They're not going, like, what I feel is we get to the point now where they're not going to release like a generational upgrade. They're probably going to hold on to the Xbox One for a long time and just release various upgraded versions of it, but the games will work. And I think that might be the direction that they'll start going with consoles now, because you like the generational gap, you're not really going to have many of those nowadays. It's more about like, just upgrading small pieces of hardware at a time. But it feels like it's less to do with like upgrading the technology and more to do with like, we need to find another way to profit.
And that's what it is.
Yeah, and there's a certain amount of people that are going to buy it because they have the money, and they also have the newest iPhone.
They have to have the latest
iPhone, and every single year they trade up their car because they need the latest car.
I mean, to humor myself, I watched the Digital Foundry video that was talking about like the Xbox 360 and the Xbox One older games that it would run on. They were literally they were zooming in on a part, and it was a Forza game. They were zooming in on a part of the screen where you had the dotted lines on the roadway, and they showed you how we're talking about probably a space that was like maybe 12 pixels by 24 pixels in a rectangle that you were never going to pay that much attention to when you're playing the game.
Well, now, if you've got like, super high definition theatrical projector in your den,
no.
Then maybe.
Still no.
Maybe.
Then still no.
Maybe.
They literally said like, oh, the anti-aliasing is done a little bit, and they changed it. And I know I was watching on YouTube, and I was watching it on a phone, but I was still watching at like the highest resolution that YouTube currently offers, and I didn't see a difference.
There's just one guy that's just like looking at his, like, watching that video. He's like, huh? And he takes it. He looks at his old console and he goes,
No. He like just launches it off. He's just like, oh, I can't believe I'm playing this now. This is worthless to me.
What are we, living in a cartoon?
We're getting to the point. I really feel like, and there was a recent debacle with NVIDIA, like releasing like a new Titan graphics card that's like $1,200, and they only did that because their previous $1,200 Titan graphics card is being outperformed by their $700 1080 Ti card. So they basically were like, oh, well, don't worry. We'll release another $1,200 card that you can buy, which the Titan X has like been out for like maybe 2 or 3 years.
Do you know how many people can actually understand the numbers that you're throwing out?
Very small amount.
Very small amount. So all they see is, oh, yeah, I got the money for the good one.
But it's like, so and the thing is, you're into sound equipment.
Yes.
You understand you get to a point where where you are not getting what you pay for. Like, you can pay a certain amount of money. Let's just throw out $500 for a sound system. Then you go up to a $1,000 sound system, and you can say, like, okay, yeah, I can hear $500 worth of difference. Then you pay $2,000 for a sound system, but the difference between the $1,000 system and the $2,000 system, not quite as great even, as the previous difference.
When you get to about like the $700, $800 range with guitars, you start capping out on certain things, like your quality of pickups, the pots they use for the tone knobs, your volume knobs, the switches they use. That stuff you start maxing out on at around that range. And then what you're buying is the type of wood that they use for the neck, which helps with your sustain and it helps with your action. But beyond that, it's all bells and whistles. Like, you've got like the locking nuts and your specialized bridge that holds the strings in place. And then you've got those fine grade tuners that are ridiculously expensive. But like, you're getting a bunch of stuff that's just add-on that doesn't help the quality of the sound.
Right.
But it helps when it comes to certain precision issues, or it helps when it comes to looking good. But for the most part, there's a certain point where it's like that's just overkill. You don't need that. And then those same people are going to plug their guitar into like a $500 amp.
Yeah.
Or they're going to find any way to just kill the tone on it. It's like, I just paid this much for this guitar. It's like, okay, well, what are you plugging it into? A Boss distortion pedal. And it's like,
I'm plugging it into a Fender.
You're plugging it into that? Okay, well, congratulations on your new shiny toy. And it's same thing with these like,
what is it? It's something like not depreciating returns, but like decreasing returns. Like, there's some kind of ratio that people. Do you have any idea what I'm referencing here?
Not really.
Something of decreasing returns, like a ratio of decreasing returns. Like, the more you pay for something doesn't mean that you're going to get that much more money out of it.
Yeah.
Like, there are laptops out there. There are gaming laptops out there that cost $5,000.
Well, it's the LED and the smoke screen and the laser light show. And, yeah.
But I don't think you're going to get, $4,000 difference between that and a $1,000 laptop.
Yeah. And that pixelation that they were trying to show you that you couldn't see. Maybe if you had like a $10,000 television, you would notice a huge world of difference. But you don't. You have the same TV everyone else has.
That is
and it's
true.
going to be showing the same quality of graphics on both of the consoles.
Yeah.
And you've got a decent surround sound. Like, it's good. It sounds great in your living room. Most people just like go off of speakers on their TV.
Yeah.
Like, they don't even have a sound bar. They just go off of speakers on their TV. So you're not going to get any kind of increase in quality there, as far as
And sound bars are ridiculously expensive, and I don't know why.
It's hard to do. Sound bars
are hard to design.
A sound bar fills up in it's not made for huge spaces, but a sound bar is designed with the speakers to project and to give it that surround sound 3D experience with it. And so like there's just a lot of work involved in it, and then you've got bells and whistles in that too. Like if you have multiple different types of devices that all have different types of outputs, you can't have just a sound bar and all it's got is an HDI or not HDMI. Well, they wouldn't have HDMI on that, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. Like, depending on how much you spend, depends on how many channels it's got. If it's got Bluetooth capability,
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot that goes into it.
And I'm not just hating on Microsoft with this. Like, I think the PlayStation 4 Pro is a stupid idea. Like, I just feel like these half-step, kind of half-baked. This sounds like it's actually going to be, a little bit more. It'd be interesting when this comes out to see what Sony does with the PS4 Pro, because it will be less powerful. I wonder if they'll drop the price on that.
Yeah.
And just how much this will be. It's funny if they release it for $599 if that'll be the new the new thing. But here's what I want to know. Like you said that, they're probably just going to do small incremental upgrades instead of like doing these giant generational gaps. I don't know that we're past the generational gaps. Like, I still think there will probably be a PlayStation 5 and there'll probably be an Xbox, whatever they decide to call it next time.
I do think that the next generational boom that you're going to see is going to be less console and more VR. Right now,
unless
they're
VR,
working on it.
Unless VR goes the same way that 3D went.
I don't know. See, VR seems like it's the game changer, revolutionary.
I feel like the VR is going to be like mobile gaming. It's going to I think it's going to appeal to a lot of people at first, but I think it's going to have a drop off even faster than mobile.
You're
like
going to have just
a
specific set of people.
Yeah, and you're just going to have certain people that, I want a whole room that's dedicated to a VR experience.
No,
people are going to think you're weird.
Yeah. Jean-Luc Picard, he used his VR all the time. But I think that you're right on that. You're absolutely right on that. They've got to find some kind of... TVs need to evolve. We do not need flat screens anymore. We need some kind of 3D projection where there's so much of it in 3D.
Yeah, I'm like the whole resolution 4K. It's like, that's great if I'm sitting 10 feet away from the screen.
Yeah.
Am I really going to notice the extra pixel count? We've already got phones that have like...
You're still watching the same exact technology as your grandparents. I mean, it's advanced technology, but it's the same it's just the same thing. You're just shooting photons, out of a screen.
I just want an OLED screen that's affordable.
I don't know, man.
A 1080p OLED screen is all I want.
Yeah. They are getting ridiculous in price now, too. It's like, what do I want? The new car or the TV?
Well, there's always been more expensive TVs that you can buy. I mean, but it's kind of funny how, like, the old $5,000 TV sets you could buy are, like, just absolute garbage compared to what's out there now.
Yeah, that's why I don't see the point in...
investing in stuff.
Yeah, investing in stuff like that. Yeah.
Like, when it comes to consoles, just get something that's going to play the games that you want to play and play them well. Like, don't get into this whole, like, pixel counting and like that. Sometimes, now, even Zelda will have its drops in frame rate at times, and is it noticeable? Yes. Do I throw the controller against the wall because I can't believe Nintendo would release such a quote-unquote buggy game? No. I just keep playing the game.
As long as it doesn't break. I mean,
yeah, it doesn't freeze up.
Certain game-breaking glitches that just ruin things, and that frustrates me.
It's certainly not unplayable, so I mean, we run into people all the time that say things like, it's 2017, it should just work. No, that's not how technology works. Yeah. I'm sorry, but it doesn't.
Those are the same people that call tech support because they don't know how to log into their email.
Well, I'm using the same password I used yesterday.
Okay, well, it expired 30 days ago. Did it work yesterday? No.
No, you don't understand. I got in yesterday. I'm not crazy, all right? I love how sometimes those interactions will turn into like a like them trying to convince you, like, I'm serious, it wasn't working a second ago.